Hello, Auntie. I'm very glad to have the opportunity today to have you share your life experiences and personal thoughts with us. Which place are you from, Auntie?
I am from Wuhan, Hubei province.
What was your upbringing like when you were young? What was the growing environment like?
I focused on studying since I was a child. I studied from elementary school to university. I really enjoy studying. I had excellent academic performance. I always ranked at the top of my class. Because my family was poor, studying was not easy. I cherished the opportunity to study, so I worked hard. The teachers and classmates in the school often praised me. They admired me. They would often ask me questions. I had good relationships with everyone.
What did you major in at university?
I majored in biology in university.
You had to take an entrance exam?
I did very well in the exam, outstanding. Originally, I wanted to study medicine, but later, I thought, being a doctor is not good, it's better to study biology. Because as a doctor, I have to see many patients, I would feel very painful and uncomfortable. So I decided to study biology. I studied at a teacher training college. Studying at a regular university required money, but these sort of colleges are tuition-free. So I stayed at Central China Normal University until graduation.
What era was that?
It was probably in 1965, a long time ago.
Indeed. So, later you became a teacher after graduation?
I didn't become a teacher after graduation. The biology profession can be switched. Later, I started my own business, international trade.
International trade. Wow, Auntie, your foreign language skills are also good. Is your English the same thing?
I was learning Russian, you know da Walish.
Oh, Dawaliksi?
In Russian, comrade.
So, have you been to Moscow? Have you been to the Soviet Union?
I went to Moscow before, but I just went there briefly and came back immediately, because I didn't have time to stay there. My schedule was very tight.
After graduating from college, did you go elsewhere?
Later, I went to Guangzhou, so I spent a long time in Guangzhou.
The children were also raised there, in Guangzhou.
Yeah, that's right.
When did you start practicing Falun Gong? What was the reason? Why did you want to practice this Gong?
Because I have been sick since I was young. I had various illnesses. I learned Qigong everywhere. I searched for Qigong everywhere. This practice, that practice, none of them could cure my illnesses. Later, someone told me about Falun Gong, saying that it could improve my health.
What kind of illness was it?
Headaches, cervical spondylosis, lumbar spondylosis, knee pain or foot pain. Sometimes I often vomit. My digestive system was also not good. So, I felt very miserable. So I always had hope for Qigong. Looking for Qigong. Everyone knows that I'm always looking for Qigong. Someone told me that Falun Gong is the best. That's how I got involved. I practiced Falun Gong for less than a month. I didn't have any illnesses anymore.
When did you start practicing?
Exactly when was Falun Gong first introduced in China? At the earliest times.
It's in 1992.
Yes, in the early days.
So, you start practicing Falun Gong very early. Did you have any exposure to the concepts of gods and Buddhists when you were young?
Yes, when I was young, I liked going to temples. I went to temples to worship Buddha.
Was it allowed back then?
Yes, it was allowed.
What era was that? Didn't the temple get vandalized later on?
The temples weren't destroyed in the early days. When I was young, not yet.
You went to the temple.
Yes, I had a strong belief in bodhisattvas and deities.
How did you come to overseas? What was the opportunity?
Well, I came overseas. My daughter got married to Joseph. Joseph is a foreigner. He's a foreigner. My daughter wanted to be with her husband. So, I came over like that.
So,
那您后
after you
来来
came to the
到
United
海
States,
外，来
you
到
lived with your
就是
daughter
美
and
国，一直
son-in-law
跟
all
女儿和
along,
女婿
right?
他们住在一起。
是的。Yeah.
您
Your
这个家
family
庭
is
是
an
一个跨
international
国际婚
marriage.
姻，在一
Together,
起，您
have
有
you
没有感觉到
experienced any
有
cultural
文化上
conflicts
冲突的地方，或
or
者是
any
什么样的呢？
challenges?
My son-in-law, you see him, you know. Just by looking at him, you know. His eyes, you can tell he's a very kind person. My son-in-law, although he can't communicate directly with me, he speaks English, and I speak Chinese. He has a phone with a translation app on it. That translation app can translate any text, no matter what you say. What he says, if he speaks in English, it can be translated into Chinese. I speak Chinese, and he has English on his side. So, in reality, we can still communicate. I said, "Hey, Joseph, I have something in my heart to tell you. I'm willing to tell you, and I'm happy to speak my mind with you." He said, "Okay, okay." That's how it is. It's just with him, that kind of relationship is excellent. It's like having my own biological son. It's like being a family. He never blames people or criticizes others. He doesn't speak ill of others. He doesn't. There were these persons. They were unable to move their refrigerator. And he didn't know them. He immediately took the initiative to help. Later, people said, "Oh, this person is really kind. He can't understand their sayings." Anyway, he proactively went over to help lift it and carried the refrigerator to someone else's house. Whenever someone encounters difficulties, he voluntarily helps. I said, "Joseph, you finished cultivate 300 years ago." He said, "Oh yeah?" I just said he was well cultivated.
Auntie, sometimes at home, during meals, it might not just be Chinese food. We might also have Western food. Are you accustomed to eating Western food?
Accustomed, well, because I never pick and choose what I eat. I can eat anything. Oh, in the past. Because I was in the trading business, I often dined out with others. Doing business, you get to eat all sorts of things. So, naturally, I've become accustomed to different flavors. Because when dining out, you have everything. Chinese food, Western food, everything. So, I've gotten used to eating everything. Sweet, bitter, spicy, sour, I can eat anything. Both Western and Chinese food, I can eat them. But I can't eat too much spicy food. My throat will feel uncomfortable. Sometimes, just a little bit is fine. My son-in-law can handle spicy food. He can eat very spicy food. I tell him not to eat too much. It's not good for his throat. He says, "Okay."
Auntie, you were able to engage in trade during your time. You were a trendsetter back then, weren't you?
Should say we're very accomplished.
So you're talented in many ways.
Not really talented in many ways. I don't have such great skills. I haven't even learned English. The English I learned in kindergarten is enough. But I didn't study it 'cause I learned Russian. Russian Dawalish, you know. So, after learning Russian, I didn't study any other languages. But I can speak Cantonese. I'm not from Guangzhou, I'm from Wuhan. Although my current Cantonese isn't very accurate, but others can still understand when I speak. They say, "Wow, you're amazing. You speak really well." They encourage me.
Auntie, do you have any other hobbies besides practicing and reading every day? What do you like to do?
The things I want to do, I don't have the ability to do them. Because I don't know how to drive. Sometimes I ask my son-in-law to accompany me. My son-in-law is afraid that I might fall alone sometimes. Because I'm getting old. I didn't need a walking stick before. But now I use a walking stick. It's been a few years now. I accidentally fell down back then. To prevent further falls when I go out, I always bring my walking stick, in case there are uneven surfaces. But my son-in-law is very good. As soon as I go out, he holds my hand. He tells me to hold him tightly. Well, you know, when people see us, they say, "That's your son." But no, he's not like that. He's a foreigner, and you're Chinese. They talk about my hair and my overall appearance. My son-in-law, who is a foreigner, obviously looks foreign. They say, "Hey, how come he treats you so well, just like your son?" Oh, so when my friends see him, They're all surprised.
Auntie, you're blessed like this.
I'm over 80 years old now, and if they don't see me, just hear my voice. They say, I can't tell you're over 80 years old.
Not impaired or blurred.
Well, my eyes have aged a bit, but my ears are fine. I'm not deaf, my hearing is very good. So, I tell them if anyone wants to scold me, I can hear them from afar. I tell them jokes. I don't have any illness, you know. Others always ask me if I go to the hospital. I tell them I'm not sick, why should I go to the hospital for fun? People always ask me this question. If I see a doctor, I tell them, without sick, why would I go to the hospital? They find it amusing. I only have a slight case of presbyopia. It's normal at my age, but mine isn't severe. So I use reading glasses. I have it. Sometimes if the text is large, I don't even need the glasses.
Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very appreciate.